Well, I'm very excited to vote.
It will be us that are going to be like the next politicians, the next MPs.
This is the first time these 6 people have met. Aged between 18 and 24, they've agreed to a chat during their lunchtime. The only thing on the menu is a meaty discussion about politics.
There is a massive distrust between young people and most institutions, and then government being the institution of institutions.
2 are first-time voters, 1 won't be voting, and the rest are undecided. One thought that kept coming up: politics and politicians seem a million miles away from their everyday lives.
It's so jargonistic and it's so complex. I think in the run-up to this, especially for young people, like, you should be able to have a Google search and just know exactly what you're voting for, or have an app. That's where young people are at, as opposed to having to look through all the government papers. And I'm just making this up. You'll probably be better to know where exactly you find these things.
Young people don't feel like they're in control. They don't feel like their vote is going to matter regardless.
For me, I think any politician, they don't speak to me in any way or form.
Isn't it your job to engage your friends and to engage people who won't vote?
I'm from a small seaside town. We're not sort of London-based. We don't walk past Houses of Parliament. They're not. It sort of doesn't. Young people think we're too far out of it to be affected.
English, maths and science GCSEs that a lot of people may not even use again after. Whereas if you actually start teaching them about politics and something that will be in there throughout their entire lives, works for education, it works for young people, it works for politicians as well.
That's what you actually need to learn in school. I did algebra, I never used it again. So.
Analysis of the last general election showed that the number of 18 to 24-year-olds that voted was just over 40%. But compare that to the number of over 65s, where that figure was just under 80%.
Their names have been wiped. The immigration database is blank.
BBC comedy The Thick of It satirises the inner workings of government. Its creator, Armando Iannucci, is trying to get a clear message across. In order for young people to have their voice heard, it's important to be part of the process.
Politicians will just respond to those who vote. That's all they'll respond to. So if those who vote, that number gets fewer and fewer, you're then going to end up in a state where politicians are responding to fewer and fewer people getting elected and then governing the country as a whole on the basis of a tiny minority.
The offices of the charity By the Ballot. Today they launch a campaign aiming to get more young people registered to vote.
It's almost bizarre that you go from being a 16 or 17-year-old in sixth form, you have to ask for permission to go to the toilet, and then a year later you've been given this big decision or this big almost challenge, like, yeah, pick who's going to run the country.
With a week to go until the deadline to register to vote, there are almost 6 million young votes potentially up for grabs. Nesta McGregor, BBC News.